Thank you for joining me this evening. Welcome to Transformational Tuesday, where the first Tuesday of every month I will be going live so that we can discuss some principles and some practices that can help you expand your thinking and transform your life. In order to change, in order to transform your life, in order to make anything different and to grow, you have to change your thinking. Growth is optional, right? Growth is optional. We can choose whether or not we want to grow. We can choose whether or not we want to change. We can choose whether or not we want to transform our lives. And it begins first with how we think about things, how we see things, our perception. And so for the first Tuesday of every month, we'll be discussing principles and practices to help us do just that, expand our thinking so that we can transform our lives. Thank you guys for joining me. Please go ahead and hit the share button so that you can share this with other people who would like to join. I did lose some people when the signal dropped on me a few minutes ago. So go ahead and share this. Go ahead and comment. Tell me where you're viewing from and tell me where you're from originally. Where were you born? And the reason where were you born, where were you raised? The reason I'm asking this is because some of the questions that I'm going to ask tonight are based, I'm trying to figure out if it's based on geographic locations. I'm trying to find out if it's culturally based. I want to find out if it's gender based. So go ahead, say hi, say good night. Let me know where you're viewing from. Let me know where you were raised so that we can go ahead with this Transformational Tuesday discussion. So I titled it Ask. Ask. You have to ask for what you want and you have to ask for what you need. In life, you have to ask. If you don't ask for these things, you're not going to get them. You're not. Oftentimes, we don't ask for what we want. We don't ask for what we need. And when we see other people getting the things that we didn't ask for, we get upset. We get upset because they asked for the raise at the job and they got the raise. You didn't. Did you ask? We get upset because people ask for things and they get them and we sit down and sit back and we think that somebody's going to just read our mind and somebody's going to give us what it is we desire in our hearts or give us what it is that we need. But it doesn't work like that. We have to first ask. And so in thinking about this, I thought, well, where did it come from that we just not ask? I've been around different cultures where if somebody wants something, they ask for it. Whatever it is, that's innate to them. You want something, you ask for it. You go get it and you ask for it by all means necessary. And so I started to explore why sometimes we don't ask. And I realized that growing up in the Virgin Islands, both of my parents told me that I should never ask for anything. Don't ask anybody for anything. That's something that I heard from both my mother and my father. So sometimes, sometimes your parents would instill different things in you, right? But this, don't ask anybody for anything, I got from both my mother and my father equally and sternly. Don't ask anyone for anything. And so I grew up with that notion. Don't ask anyone for anything. And so that's why I wanted you guys to comment. Let me know. Is it only me? Am I the only one who was raised with that don't ask anyone for anything principle by my parents, or were you guys raised the same way? Were you guys able to ask people for things, or at least raised with the notion that it was okay to ask? Okay, so Tyrone joined and he said he was born and raised in the Virgin Islands. So Tyrone, you let me know. Growing up in the Virgin Islands, did you hear this? Did your parents also tell you that you shouldn't ask for anything? So what I'm trying to figure out now, if it's geographical, if it's cultural, if it's gender-based. So Tyrone is a male. I'm trying to figure out if it was just females that were taught this. Don't ask for anything. And of course, I understand now that there was a protection in place where our parents wanted to protect us from certain things, where our parents didn't want anyone to feel that we owed them anything as young children or as females. So they would tell us, don't ask for anything. So you let me know. Were you brought up with the same principle? And you let me know if you guys who are listening and you guys who are viewing, if your parents also told you that you were not to ask. And for those of you who were not raised in the Caribbean, who may be watching from wherever, let me know if that's something that your parents instilled in you as well, not to ask for anything. So I'm trying to figure out where it came from and why it was so prevalent in the culture that I grew up in. But what I do know is that it has a long-term effect on us growing up, because as children we learn, don't ask anybody for anything, don't ask people for things, don't ask, don't ask, don't ask. And so what happens? We become adults that don't ask. We don't ask for what we want. We don't ask for what it is that we need. We don't ask for what is required, and it affects us, and it usually affects us in a negative way. Right? It usually affects us in a negative way, especially women, because women are less likely to ask for anything, period. Women are less likely to take risk. Women are less likely to actually go after what they want. Now that is changing, but that's what statistics show. For example, I read something recently that said a man applies for a job when he has 60% of the qualifications. A man applies for a job when he has 60% of the qualifications. A woman applies for a job when she has 100% of the qualifications. So what does that say? A man is more likely to take a risk on himself and apply for a job even though he doesn't have everything that it takes. A woman, however, is less likely to take the risk of herself, and a woman makes sure that she knows every single thing about that job before she applies, or whatever it is, because I really believe that those statistics are applicable to many other different areas of our lives. All right, so let me know. Go ahead and comment. Did you hear when you were growing up that you should not ask for things? So Tyrone says his mother told him not to ask for things and not to seem like you're begging. Good point, Tyrone, because oftentimes that's what it was as well, that our parents didn't want it to seem that we were needy, that they couldn't provide for us. And Tyrone said that he also learned that if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And that's really, really true. So Tyrone got it from his parents, and he's a guy. So that says to me that culturally, we were taught this whether we were male or females growing up in the Caribbean, right? So go ahead, if there are any people watching from elsewhere, go ahead and let me know if you are also instilled with this not to ask. All right, but I want to discuss the reasons why we should ask. And it's really, really simple. As Tyrone said, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. What are you waiting for? Why are you fearful for asking? You see, many times we're raised with these principles and we're raised with these thinkings that when we become adults, we have to be courageous enough to unlearn. We have to be courageous enough to say, that isn't working for me. This don't ask notion isn't working for me. So we have to change our way of thinking. We got to ask for what we want. What areas of your life can you ask for what you want? Okay, as a life coach, I speak with people and I help people to bring about a new awareness that's within themselves, right? And many times people say that they aren't achieving the results they want. Why not? Why aren't you achieving the results you want? I want to do this. I want to do that. Are you qualified? Yes, I am. Did you go back and get the necessary skills? Yes, you did. But for some reason, they're not getting the results they need. And one of the main reasons is because they're not asking. They're not asking. They're not going out there and taking the risk to find the right people, to ask the right people. And I don't know if it's just because of this principle that was instilled in us. Or I don't know if it's because it's fair. Tell me, some of you who are on the line today, what are some of the things that has held you back from asking for what you want or what you need? I have seen relationships break up because nobody asks. The male doesn't ask, the female doesn't ask, so they expect that they're going to read each other's minds. I don't know. But they don't ask for what they need. They don't ask for what they want. We don't do it. We don't ask. And at the end result, what we have, we find out we have no result. Because our needs aren't being fulfilled. Our desires aren't being fulfilled. And then when all is said and all is done, then we finally say, this is what I needed. when the relationship is over. This is what I needed. This is what I wanted. But nobody knew. Why? Because you didn't ask. Linda says that she asked for everything and it works. Great, Linda. So the question, Linda, is, were you raised to ask, or was that something that you learned afterwards? Was it something that you learned afterwards as you started to go through life, being a business owner, or is it something that you grew up with? So Tevar says that fear of ridicule, and that's a fear of rejection. Absolutely. So imagine now we're raised with this notion that we shouldn't ask for whatever reason. Our parents didn't want us to seem like we didn't have. They didn't want to seem like beggars, seem like we're beggars, like they couldn't provide. So we learned not to ask. And then as we grow up now, there's this other notion that if we ask, we will be rejected. If we ask, we may be ridiculed. And so what we do? We say we're not going to ask. We say that, you know what? I'll just hope and pray. And that's great. That's great. I believe in hoping and I believe in praying. And if you do, I'm happy that you do. So we hope and we pray. We hope and we pray. And we ask God, which is really, really, really good. But has God put in people in your life who can bless you with things who you refuse to ask? Think about it. How many opportunities you have missed because you've prayed and prayed and prayed for it, and here was the opportunity. The person was right in front of your face. The opportunity was here and you didn't ask. So you ended up missing it. You let me know. Have you ever heard of the story? The story is about a fisherman. The fisherman, he went out to sea. He went out alone, and he was on his boat, and a storm came, and then the boat capsized, and he was holding on for dear life, and he started to pray, and he prayed his hardest, and he said, dear God, please send somebody to rescue me. Dear God, I have my family home to feed. Dear God, please don't let me die. And then here comes a cargo ship. The cargo ship comes by, and they offer to save him, and they throw him a life buoy. And he doesn't grab onto the life buoy. And he's waiting for something to fall from heaven. He's waiting for something to fall from heaven to save him. And the cargo ship moves on. And he dies. And he goes to heaven. And when he reaches heaven gates, he asks the Lord, he says, Lord, I begged you, I cried for you to save me, and you didn't save me, you let me die. And God says to him, what do you mean? I sent the cargo ship and I sent a life buoy to save you, but you didn't receive it. How many of us are like that? When we hope and we pray, we ask God, and God sends exactly what we need, and then we don't recognize the blessing. We are unwilling to take the help. We're unwilling to ask people. Remember that God works through people. That's how God blesses us. He blesses us by placing the right people in our lives. He blesses us by placing the right opportunities in our lives so that we can take advantage of it. So when we ask God and when we hope and when we pray, we have to remember that God is going to send the right people in our lives. But we have to be willing to take advantage of those opportunities. So Linda says that she was raised to ask. Linda was raised to ask, and kudos to your parents for raising you that way. Kudos to your parents for saying if you need something, you need to go ahead and ask for it. All right? Now, tell me, I'm trying to figure it out now. So it's not fully cultural because Linda was raised in the Virgin Islands like I was. So her parents were of a different mindset where they raised her to ask for what it is that she needed and ask for what it is that she wanted. And she says she always asks and she always gets what she wants because she asks. So the kudos to your parents. And some of us are parents right now. And what I want to encourage us to do is that for those of us who were raised and who are taught not to ask for what it is we need or not to ask for what it is we want, for us to raise our children differently. For us to raise our children, letting them know that it is okay for them to ask for what they want and they need. Not that it's only okay, that they should ask for what they want and that they should ask for what they need. Because if they don't ask, they won't get it. All right. And many of us look around. We see many successful people. We see many people who are living their dreams, who are living their goals. And we ask ourselves how they get there. Did they work hard? Yes, they did. And you say, I'm working hard too. I'm really doing all that I can to get where I need to go. But I'm not having the same results. Ask yourself, are you asking the right questions? Are you asking the right people? Are you asking for what it is that you need and you want so that you can fulfill your purpose here on earth? I want to encourage you to ask. Ask for what you need and ask for what you want in the workplace. Don't be afraid, because the people who are going to get ahead are the people that ask. Ask for what you want. Ask for what you need in your relationships, because if you want it to grow and to be solid, you have to ask. Ask for what you want when you kneel and you pray, or you have spiritual reasoning with the Creator, whomever. Ask for what it is, and ask for what it is that you need, and ask for what it is that you want, because that's how you're going to get it. So for this Tuesday, this first Transformational Tuesday, I want to thank you all for joining me, and I want to leave you with that. Ask. Ask for what you want. Ask for what you need, and it shall be added unto you. Let go of the fear. Let go of whatever the teachings were that you may have learned from your parents or from wherever. Let go of that fear. Let go of the ridicule. Let go of anything that is holding you back from asking for what you need and ask for what you want. And for those who may be younger, who are on the line, on the call, on the FaceTime, on the live, ask for what you want. I've spent 15 years working at universities and colleges, and I can tell you, even in the classroom, the students that are successful are those that ask for what they want. The students who sit to the back, who pay attention, who want to get it, but who don't go up to the teacher and say, this is what I need, who don't ask questions in the classroom, who don't go to the financial aid office and say, I need more help, who don't go to their counselors and say, I need more support. You don't get it. You don't get what you want. You don't get what you need unless you ask. So in all aspects of your lives, I'm encouraging you tonight to ask. Teach your children to ask for what it is they want and what it is they need. Teach your spouse to ask for what it is they want and what it is they need. And if you're employees, if you're an employer, teach your employees to ask as well, so that the communication can open between you guys, so that you can know what they need in order to be well supported. And if you're an employee, you make sure you ask your employer as well. In 2017, I want you to have increase. I want you to have success. I want you to have wealth. I want you to have all the things that your hearts desire. Ask for it, and it will be yours. Thank you guys for joining. Please go ahead and press share in the lower right hand corner. Please go ahead and press share if this can bless somebody. Go ahead and continue to comment. I go back and I answer the comments. I'm going to see you next month, the first Tuesday of February. In the meanwhile, you can go ahead and engage with me here on Facebook, on email, wherever. I love you guys. Thank you. Remember, expand your mind and expand your thinking so that you can transform your lives. Thank you guys for joining, and have a good night. Love you.